The views and opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners. Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus with JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, sunny, warming quickly, love because it's summertime, downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 45-year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined by my crew, our president, my oldest prodigal daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who is a certified financial planner, as well as being a wealth manager, and her husband, my son-in-law, my favorite son-in-law, my only son-in-law. You know, I was going to get there one day. Rob Markham, who also is a wealth manager and our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
The second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their healthcare needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron, Rob, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Folks, again, good morning. Good morning, gang. Welcome everybody to the show. Kind of a special day today.
Special day.
This is our 18th anniversary on the air.
Your 18th anniversary.
It's my 18th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you for being here on the air. Obviously, I want a special shout out and thank you to our general manager, station manager, Mort Dorsey, my friend, who's let us, as I like to say, bring our ball into his ballpark every day. So if you've been with us the whole time, this is show number, I think it's like
5 million.
Like 900 and something, whatever. So,
and rarely do we miss one. Very few are.
Yeah, we used to get kicked off by the Cardinals. We hate them, but it's okay.
Oh, we just lost like a whole contingent of clients.
No, we aren't, because they can't even listen to the ball game yet.
That's true. It's not on yet.
Which is great. But again, all of our clients are folks like you. We want to thank you. You're our listeners. You're 55 and older, would like to retire, or you're already retired. As Aaron mentioned, we create a game plan for them so they can have a fun, and I do mean fun, and worry-free, hopefully, retirement.
That's right. And there are several other ways that you can keep in contact with us throughout the week. If you missed the show or you haven't been with us for the full 18 years, you can log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us button, request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. If you have a question and it's easier to email us that way, just click that Contact Us button. If you do it during the show, we'll try to get to it. If not, we will get to it as quickly as possible after the show. And on the lower left-hand side of the screen, a pop-up box appears that that says sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. We do keep the last 6 to 12 months archived, and every single page that you click on our website, you'll be able to see that little pop-up box appear. So if you've forgotten to sign up, we'll remind you. And Rob, why don't you let us know what our May newsletter looks like, because it's our first week.
First week of the new newsletter, and our May 2024 edition has some great articles you're definitely going to want to check out. The first one, when do people start collecting Social Security? You know, if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know when to decide your Social Security election benefit is paramount to your overall retirement game plan. We've discussed this many times because of all the variables that go into that decision. You know, for instance, are you going to work after electing your benefit? Is creating a potential larger benefit for your wife or husband important to you? Do you have health concerns that need to be factored into the equation? All these questions factor into how we bring your Social Security election into your overall game plan. And having said that, our newsletter article has a great infographic highlighting when most people decide to take their benefit. And I'll just give you a little spoiler alert. Most people, the two most popular, are 62 and at full retirement age.
And, you know, I bet just intuitively that tells me, I bet 62 is many of our union workers, those individuals that retire earlier because those jobs put a lot of stress and strain on their bodies. They have access to their benefit at 62, also their pension, so they're probably electing earlier. And then for many others, their goal is to get to that full retirement age benefit, so they may delay. Or we're seeing people working longer over the last several. I think we're seeing a split, people trying to retire earlier, but then also people that are able to stick it out longer, especially with a lot of new work from home opportunities. I think that's extended people's working lives or the enjoyment of what they're doing, so they're making it to full retirement age.
Well, and I guess the last variable here is they keep extending what normal retirement age is. For me, it was 66 and 10 months.
For us, it's like 113.
Exactly. It's 67. So people used to consider the whole thing 65 was normal retirement age. Well, it has been normal retirement age for many folks. So it's interesting that we do have this bell here, which is, you know, folks taking it as early as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And then those that are taking it normal retirement age. But we see probably the smallest percentage are those that actually wait till 70. And that's not unusual.
Right. And
not at least in our practice.
A lot of the literature talks about waiting as long as you possibly can to take your Social Security benefit. But if, like Rob said, if you listen to us, we do the math regularly for people, not only as reiterations of some of the coaching sessions we've had, but when people call in to tell us, you know, what their plans or thoughts are, or if you have a question about when you should take your Social Security benefit, you know, giving a generalized answer or giving you some numbers to consider, because although you are waiting to increase your benefit, you are also giving up the benefit you could be receiving over the time that you are waiting. So there are a lot of factors to consider when you're making that decision.
Absolutely. And our next article, how biases can affect your investment decisions. You know, most economic models are based on the premise that people are rational and they make rational decisions to try and maximize economic and financial benefits. But if you've spent any time walking around any big box retailer for about an hour, you are disabused of this almost immediately. But, you know, in all seriousness, most people are not robots. And while we like to think that facts, reason, and logic govern the day, you know, emotions, especially fear, excitement, and greed are also at work. This article highlights some of the most common biases that can influence financial decision making. And I'm just going to touch on a few of them. Anchoring, which is the tendency to become attached to something even when it doesn't make sense, even in the face of contradictory evidence. Good example of this might be you've grown accustomed to a house. Maybe you raised your kids in it. Maybe it's your childhood home. It no longer makes sense because of the upkeep, but because you're attached to it, you don't care that it has 6 bedrooms when you only use 2. You've become anchored to the idea, and it's not evidence-based at this point. It's emotionally based.
Which can be okay sometimes.
The next one, and I'm certainly guilty of this, is loss aversion bias, and
Yes, sir. I
that
can
is
attest.
that is the tendency to fear losses and to sell and more than you would celebrate gains. I know for a fact that I remember all my losses vividly, and the gains are just like kind of like meh. You remember them, but not like the sting of a loss. And that fear and that anxiety can paralyze your investment decisions. And the last one, and another one I'm guilty of, is confirmation bias. And that is the tendency to assign more authority to opinions you already agree with. Like,
Well, of course.
right, I heard the guy on TV say the same thing. Huh,
That I was thinking.
right, I'm right. Of course I'm right. So
So you resemble these remarks is the point.
Oh, that's great. I think we should go through a few more of these as the weeks go on, because there are. So if you haven't received our newsletter yet and you'd like to receive it, just log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. We still have a few more articles to get through, but there are some other great biases to consider that I think I want to touch on over the next few weeks.
we will definitely do that. And that's one of the reasons I picked this article. I was reading it and kind of chuckling, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be a
This is
gonna
a
be
good one.
a good one. And speaking of good ones, our next article has certainly elicited some feedback from our listeners and
Our readers already.
Right. And it's called, Is Tipping Fatigue Wearing You Out? Traditionally, tipping has been a way of rewarding workers for providing either good or even excellent service. But the norms around tipping are changing. And if you've recently felt more pressure to tip, you're not alone. According to a recent survey, 75% of adults said tipping was expected in more places now than ever. And they even have names to come up with this new phenomenon, tip fatigue and tipflation.
I don't know if anybody is a fan of The Office, but there's a character on there. His name's Dwight Schrute, and his opinion on tipping is he doesn't tip anyone for things he couldn't do himself. Which is probably a little extreme, but I thought that's what made this article reminded me of that, which is pretty funny.
It's curious because I went out to breakfast this morning.
Did you? Where'd you
Well,
stop?
your mom doesn't cook for me anymore, so I had to.
Oh my God. Just
The
calling
secret's
her out
Well,
on the radio.
She's had a massage, so it's okay. She doesn't mind. So no, I went to a breakfast place.
Mhm.
It's a national chain.
Oh, okay. One of your
And-
faves. All right.
Yes, and so what they did was, they brought me my check,
Mm-hmm.
and I went up to the register to pay it, and then of course, they've got the tip on the
The suggested tip.
tip on the screen.
Uh-huh.
I hate that.
Why?
Well, first of all, I'm pretty good at math, so I can figure out what percentages I want to give, but they're nice
Sure.
enough to go, it used to be 15%,
Now they start with what?
20.
They start with 20.
That's the
start with
starting
20.
point, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're standing there, and it's like the gal that, at least in this, it was a gal, that was my server, is the one taking the check. So she's
Oh, you're
looking at the
feeling
screen.
pressure.
Right. So you're feeling pressure. It's like, oh, well, what did we get? Well, I gave her 20%, which I would have done anyways, but I didn't like it.
You don't like it.
And so I've been doing a lot of research on this, by the way.
Research.
Yes, reading various articles about what supposed etiquette experts are saying about when do you tip, when don't you tip, etc.
What do the etiquette experts say?
Well, what they say is if someone isn't actually serving you,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to tip.
So are you going to provide this research to them before you click the buttons? Like, I've done my research.
No.
Take a look here. This is why I'm not tipping.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, it's you go into a place for carry out.
Or you mean if it's a fast casual, where you go up to the register and order, and then you go pick up your own food kind of thing?
Right.
There's nobody that's actually bringing anything to you?
Yeah, because the cook isn't getting the tip anyways.
Well, I don't know about that, because in some cases now the reason that they moved to all of the electronic tipping is because it is included in the W-2, and they do start splitting that amongst people, as opposed to in the past where if you hand someone cash, they can stick it into their pocket.
You're selling, I'm not buying.
Oh, fair
My
enough.
uncle used to have a formula. It was great. God rest his soul. He would start out with a set number, and every time the waiter or waitress made a mistake or wasn't diligent, he would start deducting and many times we were out and he'd be like, at this rate, they're going to owe me money.
Well, as a person that came from restaurant service in the past, I just always tip.
Right.
Generously. Because even if there are errors, missteps, in a lot of cases, especially after COVID, I feel like the number of employees in restaurants has gone down dramatically. And I still see all of the parking lots mainly full at these places. So I know people are struggling to find new staff. So it can be a little overwhelming.
Well, not to beat a dead horse, but this article lays out some helpful tipping guidelines you may want to incorporate. And, remember.
Or you can always email Jeff for his research.
Tipping,
Yes.
tipping is always voluntary, and it's up to you to decide who, where, and how much to tip. And our last article, do you need to adjust your tax withholdings? Now that the tax filing deadline is behind us, now may be a good time to adjust your income tax withholdings. Tax withholdings, they're a balancing act. Withhold too much and you'll receive a refund, or as my wife likes to say, you gave the U.S. government an interest-free loan.
But who wants to do that?
Withhold too little and you end up with a tax bill. This article lays out some reasons you may want to change your tax withholding and how to go about doing it.
Aaron,
Yeah.
the government sends a Brinks truck for you.
What are you talking about? You mean because I overwithhold?
You're right.
It was accidental.
You have never not received a tax refund. A huge one.
In fact, I can correct that misgiving here, or that accusation, which was when I first moved back to St. Louis from Philadelphia, one of the highest taxed places in the country, and a very loving, caring person who I happen to be related to was doing my taxes for me free of charge. Jumped the gun and told me that I was going to be getting back all these heaps of dollars. It was going to be so great. And then guess what happened?
You owed money.
That is accurate. So after that sting, in which I guess we could look at it from the other angle, which is that the government gave me an interest-free loan for a while, I decided that I was going to withhold a little bit more.
Well, obviously adjusting your withholding isn't very difficult. You go into your employer, you file Form W-4 and you do that. What I would like to just comment here about is what I see in terms of under withholding. Many folks, when they go to file for their Social Security benefits,
You can't withhold online. You have to have a separate form.
Exactly.
So they're not doing it automatically.
Yes. And so what happens is that 25, that 30,000 a year of extra income, you're not making up for it. You're not putting aside the money for the taxes. And usually in the first year, it's like, oh my God.
Right.
I have this big tax bill. I owe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. You need to work with your advisor.
Yep.
If you don't want to go through the
calling Social Security.
Exactly.
Or the form is available on SSA.gov. We have it readily available because every time a client files for their Social Security benefit, we provide a little step-by-step as to how they can go through the online process, and I always attach that form for them so they can elect their withholdings. The nice thing is you can only federally withhold with that form, and in Missouri or in Illinois at this point, where the places you can hear our voice, there are no taxes on your Social Security.
We love
Get
that.
this in unison. It's great.
We really do like that. But again, it's good to get with your financial advisor about this. Hopefully you're having these tax discussions anyways. And in many cases, what we're doing is we're adjusting our withholdings for them.
Also, it's better to withhold from your Social Security than withhold more from your withdrawal from your retirement account, because that's taxed too. Like the gross distribution is what is taxable. So if you are increasing your withholdings, you're increasing the gross distribution in most cases.
Maybe not necessarily, because if you figure that you're coming up with that tax if you're out of your pocket, you just increase your withholding. But anyways, we call it the Coach's Corner. Easy to get. Go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on the Coach's Corner newsletter icon.
Lower left-hand side of the screen. Well, Rob will send it out to you every single month.
Or hit the Contact Us section.
I certainly will.
Send us a note, send us a letter, send us a comment.
Or give us a call, 314-863-0008. We can always get you on the newsletter list that way.
It seems the newsletter has elicited our first text, and our texter writes, I'm conflicted on tipping in self-service situations, but I always tip well when I get table service. Be grateful you're able to afford restaurant dining. You're not kidding.
Right, because it's not cheap anymore.
It
oh my
is
gosh.
not. I mean, just going out to a basic, just eat and greet kind of place.
Eat and greet. What could we qualify this?
Well, it's interesting because with this texture, I used to really feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, if I'm spending the money on gas and no one's actually waiting on me, bringing me food, water, whatever it would be, I'm sorry, they're not getting the tip.
I think that's what the texter is saying. They're conflicted about the self-service situation. Like they don't really know if they should tip there, but table dining, they do, in fact, tip.
Well, and I was just saying this before we go on the air. I love the fact that they don't even ask you at McDonald's.
If you want a tip.
Right, they don't ask. There isn't any, would you like to tip, whatever. Most of the places have added this tipping option in where it didn't exist before, and I don't like that.
I can remember when you'd go to like a local deli and they'd have that little
jar,
plastic box, and you just drop
tip jar.
Yeah, exactly. And it just seems like that's very quaint. I'm probably showing my age because I don't even know if they do that anymore. But I do tip my hairdresser well because if you
that's
don't,
the sweater that you wear every day.
Right. If you don't, you've run around with a hat for 3 weeks. So tip well or get scalped.
Right.
Yeah, but you don't. But Robert, I can't even comment because you got this mohawk thing going. So
it's a faux hawk.
It's a crown.
Oh, I see.
It's a crown.
Every king needs one.
So, are you tipping your hairdresser before or after? Because after it's like his afterthought.
But if
They've
it's
already done
ongoing, like they see, like, oh, Rob's coming in.
Right.
Last time I got a 25% tip from that guy.
Exactly. They won't let you get out of the chair,
Looking
without
crazy.
Exactly. And I try and stay out of those chop shops. So I don't get.
Honestly, sometimes I wish the show could be simulcast so the listeners could get a nice view of Dad's faces. Because sometimes they're classics.
Thank you.
They're always classics.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
And on that note, we have a texture, happy anniversary. It's also my teddy bear's birthday. I don't know what that means exactly, but cool. He's 18 plus.
Thank you.
Have a fun show.
We always do. We try
do
to.
I think what we should do is let's take our first break.
Let's do it.
And when we get back, we'll be here to answer your questions at 314-931-5877. Or your text, 84126 on the KTRS text line. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
This Give STL Day, be a beacon of hope with Annie Malone Children and Family Services. For over a century, we've been a sanctuary for children and families in need. Your donation can light up lives, providing essential care, education, and support to those who need it most in our community. Visit AnnieMalone.com now. Help us continue a legacy of love and support. Every dollar makes a difference. Annie Malone Children and Family Services, because every child deserves a chance.
For over 50 years, Mazza's has been a local family-owned restaurant known for delicious Italian food the whole family can enjoy. And Mazza's St. Charles will be hosting a Mother's Day lunch and brunch on Sunday, May 12th to celebrate all the amazing moms out there. They'll be serving their normal menu plus a limited menu pack with delicious treats just for Mother's Day. Call 636-925-2961 or visit mazzasofcourse.com and click on St. Charles for more information and to make your Mother's Day reservation for lunch, brunch, or dinner. And the new banquet room is available for private events. It's Mazza's, of course.
Walter Knoll Florist needs package delivery drivers for Mother's Day weekend, specifically Saturday and Sunday. You'll use your own vehicle and get paid per stop. Apply online at WKF.com. Look for the application link towards the bottom of the page. Teen years are a challenging and critically important time. When teens feel disconnected, as so many do right now, the challenges are even greater. But so are the opportunities. Camp Wyman is a place where generations of teens have built confidence, formed connections, explored nature, and grown as leaders. It's a place of sunrises, s'mores, and smiles. Make a gift to Wyman now at givestlday.org/WYMAN. Thank you for your support and for helping to make camp memories possible for generations to come.
Before you put your home on the market, before you have to pay money fixing it up to sell it, before you have to pay real estate commissions, call me. I'm Mike Robinson with Robank Properties, and I will buy your home. Any property, any condition, anywhere, and always as is. Call me, Mike Robinson with Robank Properties at 314-283-0867. That's 314-283-0867. You have nothing to lose when you call Robank Properties at 314-283-0867.
A message from the master. If you are looking for that one-of-a-kind gift this year, come on in to Newsletter's Fine Jewelers. Let Richard draw your future present for somebody you love. This special engraving lasts a lifetime. At the corner of Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's 9:31 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, from my 18-year producer, Eric Gabrielson. Fabulous.
Waiting.
He's now grown up. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And while we're waiting, because I don't think we have a text at this moment.
Not at the moment.
While we're waiting, to get back to a little nostalgia.
Ooh.
What's interesting is that the numbers change over time, but the algebra of retirement has not.
So you are going to compare 2006, when you first joined the show, created the show, to today?
Yes, and I know that you and Rob are going to help me with the numbers.
2006. I can't
Seems
believe
like
that
such a long time ago, but it really isn't.
But oh my God.
You weren't with me at that point, huh?
I was still in college.
George W. Bush had just beaten.
He was in his second year.
He was in his second term. He just beat Senator Swiftboat Kerry.
They were carrying around the
Swiftboat Veterans for Truth. I remember that.
Thank you, Lord. He wasn't president.
Those commercials were wild.
But let's talk about money rates. I think this is kind of important.
Oh, look at this comparison. This is great.
Well, thank you. The 30-year mortgage, Robert, in 2006 was average
6.3.
So not to because this is really right before the financial crisis.
Yes.
So rates prior to the financial crisis were very similar to today's rates, which are on average about 7.24%.
That's right.
On mortgages.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average.
Oh my God.
Was at 17,221, which seems like a decent number, but what was it when it closed?
37,815. That is well over 100%.
Wait,
increase.
you did this? You must have done this a little bit ago because it was actually 38,000 as of close Friday. 38,600.
That's cool. It probably was the first of the month.
Yeah,
well over 100% gain.
Wow.
The S&P 500 index was at 1958.
Now we're at. Let me get the perfect number here. 5,127.
Another 100%. No, 150%.
150% gain. Imagine that over a 18-year period.
That's incredible.
And the national debt.
Another incredible gain.
8.5 trillion in in 2016 and
2006.
I'm sorry, 2006, and now in 2024 it is 33 trillion
and counting.
Exactly.
And ticking.
And we've also had 4 significant recessions. The last 2, the Great Recession, which was really the financial meltdown in 2009, and also COVID.
Well, also we had .com.
Right.
That was a big one in the 90s.
And the Gulf War.
Gulf War II.
Oh, I'm sorry. .com was prior to 2006.
Yeah. So what we're looking at is we've had some very major recessions. Every time we had these recessions, we thought that, the world was going to come to, we didn't think so, but people thought the world was coming to an end. But what's interesting is that the average of these recessions has been, other than the Great Recession, less than 12 months.
And what about, in general, the markets were maybe not fully recovered, but it's back on the ascent in less than 12 months in many of those cases as well, correct?
Yes. And I think what's real important here is that when we're talking about biases, et cetera, as I've always said, if you see the train, you're allowed to jump off the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is once you've seen the train one time, you're worried that the next train, it's like it never ends. It's like a continuous thing. You can't jump back on. So that's why timing the market is literally almost impossible.
Right.
And if you were waiting for it to go down again, you had 4 opportunities, really big opportunities. And we're not even talking about the 10% reductions.
Which those,
and we've had tons of those. But being invested, staying invested is extremely important. And frankly, having a coach to help you maneuver this emotional roller coaster can be very valuable for you, because missing the up days is really more damaging to you than missing the down days.
What was that statistic?
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. The if you missed the
Best
5
day
or
of the
6 most valuable days in the calendar, you've retarded your growth.
It's like somewhere in the 20% range, I think, right?
Yes.
17% sticks out as the number to me, but that's not, it's significant.
What really sticks out to me in this article that your dad put together was all the events that have happened over this almost 20-year period. And, what isn't mentioned here is, and we hear it a lot, government shutdowns, elections, all these other events that are sprinkled in that, the 24-hour news cycle likes to drum up, and, it gets people's anxiety working, and, the fear buttons get pressed. But, when you just step back and look at these numbers, and
150%.
Right. And
that includes the 20% down.
And we've went through all these events, all these government shutdowns, all these, omnibus bills.
That never actually come to fruition.
Right. So, this is a great article about, I believe, perspective, and having the right perspective, and being involved for the long term. Because as your dad likes to say, if you really do believe the best days of the country are behind it, then, I guess you should be in all cash.
Another title for this article, or for your conversation, could have been, it's time in the market, not timing the market. Because if you stayed invested over the last 20 years, you would have seen it. You won't see 100% of this appreciation, but you would see a nice chunk of it depending upon the way that you were invested over the last 20 years.
And it's not unusual here when folks are, when you're working, you're making contributions to your retirement plans. Your company's sending in these monies once a month. Their contributions, your contributions. Your dollar cost averaging it. It's going up and down. Sometimes you're looking, sometimes you're not. But the bottom line is
that you're still getting your paycheck too.
Yes, but you're covering over, if you think about it, you're covering over the losses with buying shares at lower prices. And when it goes up, it's weep. Well, when we get to the end,
mm-hmm.
then it's a situation where, we're looking for most folks of having a life expectancy of 20 to 30 years.
Which could be more than they worked.
Yes, in some cases. And that being the case, you don't leave the gal that you brought to the dance. That's the whole point.
Dance with the girl that brung ya?
Right. So what will happen is that you need to stay invested, because as you begin to draw from that investment, you want to continue to grow back and to grow further. And so even with withdrawals, anecdotally, what should happen over a period of time is that if you think about it, if you withdraw 4%
Mm-hmm.
and you make 5 or 6 or 7 on average over time, your money's going to grow. And generally that's what we've seen happen with folks I've seen clients have come with us, those that have passed away, etc. But what I really wanted to get to was the economy changes. The politics changes. We have we have changes. We have weather changes. We have all kinds. Things are always changing, but what never changes is your personal math. So let's talk about it. What you really need? What's the real basis here? And I think the first question is you have to ask yourself, how much money does it take to support the lifestyle that I have?
And so we're not talking about creating a budget. We're talking about...
Because you already have the budget.
Right, you've created it. This is what does it take to support the lifestyle you've created if you want to make personal changes to that. Those are obviously your choices.
And it's so easy to measure, right, babe? I mean, folks don't bring us in lists of, some people bring us in lists of, I'm spending this for this. Generally, our question is, well, at the beginning of the month, they're putting it, how much are they depositing into your account?
At the end of the month, how much do you have left?
Right.
If nothing, that's okay because you saved before it got there.
Yes.
You're living off of the net of what you're being paid to begin with. Your 401k your retirement plan contributions are already being accounted for in this equation. Taxes are already accounted for in this particular equation. So are you living within your budget or within your income? Are you living below it, meaning you're creating some savings for yourself? So over the course of the year, you're seeing your checking account grow in value, or are you staying steady? It can be it can be an easy number to calculate. If you want to be conservative, you can just say, let's use what my net paycheck is every month as my lifestyle number.
So let's give them the secret formula.
Mm-hmm.
We keep telling it every week, so it's really not that much of a secret unless you're not listening.
It's the worst kept secret.
Right, exactly.
So take your net monthly pay. If you're paid twice a month, multiply both your single paycheck by 2, whatever the case may be.
Multiply that by
about 20%.
1.2%.
So you want to gross that up for taxes because, like we just mentioned, your taxes are already accounted for in the situation in which you are having a paycheck deposited into your bank account. We want to accommodate for withdrawals from your retirement account, so we need to gross that up for taxes. In our firm, what we do is we withhold the taxes for you, send it off to the federal and state government if you happen to live in Missouri, and you'll then again live off of the net. So we are recreating a paycheck for you using your assets in the same exact way that your employer was creating the paycheck for you from your work.
So if someone was, say, they were having $5,000 a month deposited into their checking account, we gross that up for taxes, that would be another $1,000, so $6,000 a month times 12 months, and that's the magic number you need every year to make your life work.
It's magical.
Right. So,
and it really can be that simple, everyone.
Yeah. It
really is.
We make it that simple.
Right. And we'll talk about why we simplified it into this way, because it's really not a simplified thing. So you're going to war. This is a good way to think about it. You're going to war. Muster the troops. What are your sources?
Where are the troops coming from?
Right. What are your resources that you're going to take into this battle?
Do you have what is your Social Security benefit? Most people have that.
Do you have a pension?
If you don't have Social Security, most likely you have a pension. Or maybe you have both.
Right.
Or maybe you're going to work part-time in retirement.
Or do you have rental income? Do you have income from a family farm? Do you have other sources of income that we need to accommodate for? Now, they could be long-term sources. They could be sources that are only over a protracted amount of time. For example, we just met with a very nice couple yesterday where, the husband retired 10 years ago. He went back to work for about 5 years. Then he fully retired. So we can accommodate to say, well, we'll have some increased fixed income for 5 years, but then that's going to fall away. That'll be part of our cash flow game planning. So we want to accommodate for fixed income sources and then maybe variable income sources.
And then we have to say also, have you built in enough capital to prudently withdraw this amount over your lifetime?
Because we're going to take, in Rob's example, $5,000 a month, grossed up for taxes, $6,000. We're going to subtract out your fixed income sources, Social Security, pension, whatever those may be. The number that remains over 12 months is the deficit that we need to accommodate for using your capital.
Right. So what we're doing is we're using a prudent rate, let's say 4%. So we divide that number by 4%, and that gives us a capital number, and that's what I like to call the milk money. That's the amount of capital you need that using a prudent 4% withdrawal rate will make your life work.
And the next one, which I think is a great one, have you put enough capital to the side for emergencies, the things that aren't part of your everyday or every week, every month budget, but that you know, like, for instance, maybe your car is getting older. You know it's not going to be the forever car, so you know that's out there. Have we game planned for that? Is there a kitchen remodel coming up? Or is there just money put aside because, like, the water heater went or the boiler went or whatever the case is? What have we created enough capital to account for the things you can't plan for?
I would say the final thing that we're going to want to accommodate for is non-reoccurring expenses that require capital. So not just emergencies, but what about some fun things?
Vacations.
Right. Maybe big vacations. Many people are, when we talk about budgeting or we talk about what does it take to run your lifestyle, when we sit down with, individuals can go one of two ways. Either they have itemized everything down to the haircuts that they get.
Which is great.
Well, sure. Or others say, this is about how much we spend every month. We're not seeing changes in our paycheck. We always, pepper a few extra questions.
What about fun?
Right. Is fun included in this? Is travel included in this? Were you paying for your travel through your monthly income in the past? Meaning you maybe were siphoning to the side. You were your own planner and you were putting money aside for trips, or you put it on a credit card and you paid it off in a certain amount of time. Whatever the case is, did you accommodate for that in these numbers? So then that way, if we need to factor in additional income over the course of time, we're able to do that.
And you have to factor in fun because, now that you don't have to be at work every day, you're going to have a lot of time on your hands. And, some of that time you may want to spend in a different location, especially when the weather gets colder. And so, that's something that certainly needs to be worked into your game plan, or at least considered.
No question about that. So I guess at the end of the day, when I like to think about personal math, over the last 20 plus years that I've been involved in this planning, what I've found is that using this simple formula and sticking to and making an assumption of a prudent rate of withdrawal, 4%. What I have found is that since we fund to 100% of our clients' cash flow need, 100%, not I'll cut out this, I'll do that, because we don't believe you.
Or we take 80% of your gross pay. No, we don't do that either.
It's 100% of the money that you're spending right now. What we have found is that anecdotally, I can just tell you, no one has ever asked us for a raise.
And that's a really interesting point to make because, as you mentioned, Dad, you've been on the radio for 18 years, which means you've seen, and you were an advisor prior to that, you've seen some inflationary periods, you've seen deflationary periods over time. I've now had the opportunity to experience a relatively high inflationary period, and I can say that that is still anecdotally true, and that we are seeing people not happy when they go to the grocery store to buy things, not in love when they're sitting down at the restaurants with what they have to pay, but we're not seeing people needing to literally adjust for the 10% compounding inflation that we saw over the last few years.
Nor have we had to send anyone back to work. To the extent that anyone's returned to work, it's because, they retired and their work made them an offer they just couldn't refuse. Now they get to work from home, or they offered them 3 times their salary, so it was a really good situation for them.
Yep.
Again, sticking to your numbers is what it's all about. Understanding your personal math is what it's all about. And so our job is to get in sync with you, perfectly in sync. Say, okay, these are your numbers. This is the reality. And frankly, it truly is an algebra problem because the component that is different in every single algebra problem, there's always one variable, and that variable is you, how much you're spending. And so once you have a good idea about what you're spending, everything will come into deep focus very easily.
So we have a couple of text questions I'd love to get to after our break.
Let's do it, babe.
So let's take our second break of this hour, and we're going to dispel some rumors for our texters when we get back.
How's your deck holding up? Time for a new one? Time to redo the one you're sitting on? It's time to call Outdoor Living. Outdoor Living last summer helped me with my deck, and I cannot tell you how thrilled I am. Outdoor Living Inc. not only showed me all the different options, whether it's PVC, composite, vinyl wrapped, wood, but Outdoor Living has the largest showroom in St. Louis, 2,000 square feet of decking, so I figured out exactly what I wanted from the largest showroom in town. 314-966-DECK or OutdoorLivingInc.com.
Basement with a Y. That's Basement E.
It's Basement T.
Basement E?
It's Basement T.
Oh, Basement T. Basement T. I get it. That's the basement waterproofing and foundation repair experts at Woods Basement Systems.
Right. The all things Basement T experts at Woods Basement Systems will provide you a free estimate and dry out that wet basement and fix that cracked foundation. Call 800-388-9326 or go online to woodsbasementsystems.com.
That's woodsbasementsystems.com.
This is Mariah, third generation at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry. Buying an engagement ring can be intimidating. At Newsteaders, we ensure complete understanding of your purchase. We offer a choice in both lab and mine-grown diamonds and are able to work with any budget. Let our family help educate you on your choice at Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
What happens when you get a small dent, maybe some hail damage, or a minor collision? My suggestion, go to Dents Express. Dents Express is a family-owned and operated small company in business for 30 years. And what Dents Express does is they specialize in paintless dent removal, hail damage, and minor collision. They offer free estimates, no appointment needed, walk-ins welcome, and yes, they'll work with your insurance company. 2 locations in St. Charles and on Manchester Road next to Gettiker's. Dents Express, STL.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Lang. Join me every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 on the Big 550 for Animal Talk, where I talk about everything regarding dogs, cats, and other domestic animals. Topics include nutrition, training, medical checkups, special guests show up now and then, and of course, I'll answer your questions. So join me every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 for Animal Talk on the Big 550 KTRS, the Animal Talk of St. Louis.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Woo! Year 18 coming to a close, so is this first hour of our show.
First hour just blew by.
Right.
And we have about 6 minutes left. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the heat. It's heating up.
I have
Text line.
I have a question first. Have the last 18 years blown by?
Yes.
It's just the only one-word answer I've ever gotten from you.
I mean, the weeks, we were just talking about that on the way, and it's like, wow, another week has gone by.
Days keep coming.
Yeah, right.
You know, when your life gets centered around being in the station at a certain time on Saturday, that's just what happens. It's all good. They've enjoyed it. It's been nice.
And we've got some texters on the line, and our next texter writes, "Good morning. Please verify this rumor."
Rumors.
We've got rumors. Got some scuttlebutt out there.
I like that word, scuttlebutt.
Is it true that once claiming Social Security, within the first year, you can change your mind and claim a later time if you return the funds?
Verified.
That is been checked by real American patriots, and it is true.
That is fact-checking true. within the first year, you can pay it back. You can basically you get a redo if within the first year of electing your Social Security benefit, you change your mind, you have to pay the full dollar amount back, and then you get to reset the clock for yourself. But you only get to do it one time.
And you only get to do it if you pay them back.
Right.
That's the whole big deal, because if you don't pay them back, you say, well, just freeze it. Well, guess what? You're frozen. That you could be not accruing any more benefit, but you're still stuck on that date.
Right. Well, the texture did write if you return the funds.
Yes.
So yes.
Got to return those funds.
I've seen that once.
I remember that. And it was a person that decided to go back to work.
Yes.
They made him an offer he couldn't refuse?
Because
Yes, actually.
The part that the literature doesn't discuss when saying, you should delay your Social Security benefit, you should wait as long as you can. Most individuals, when they retire, need the support of their Social Security benefit in order to make their lifestyle work.
It's usually about a third or more of their income.
Exactly. So usually that means that if you've taken your Social Security benefit, you are spending it. Like, it's coming in just like a paycheck.
Right.
It's going out just like your paycheck. So most people are not in the position to be able to put it to the side and then pay it back because they've set it all to the side. That's usually part of their natural consumption, which is why we don't see it happen very often.
Well, that end, if you started too early, as an example, for those folks that are turning normal retirement age, let's say 67. If you start anywhere between 62 and 64, you're getting dinged if you're still working, because you only earn about $22,000. It's not until your last year where it goes up to like 66,000, where it's like, hey, it doesn't really make a difference.
Hopefully, but
earlier,
yeah, they take back one for every two that you make over. I believe it's 22.6. And that's no fun.
No, certainly not.
Not what you want to be doing.
No,
absolutely.
You had a text?
Yes, I did have a text. The text was, Jeff, why didn't you say that you were the president of JBL? Well,
why did it? Because you're not.
That was a lie.
First, she took my chair next to the computer screen. Now she took my job.
I would again like to reframe that. First, I took the work.
Yes.
And the hours.
Oh, and then you received the title. Is that it?
Yeah.
Well, honey, I need some help here because
I know.
Thank you.
Wow.
I walked into that one. That was 2 by 4.
Only once in a while.
I've been nice. I haven't even started any grandchild jokes the whole time.
Only every once in a while do I really get to connect with one.
Well, thank you. So I'm thinking, since I'm still doing the intro,
still doing it, except for when you're not here.
I need to come up with, like, what's my title going to be?
President Emeritus. Okay. I don't even actually know entirely what that means.
See, I was hoping you were going to say Dad.
That's always your title.
That's the best title I've ever had.
You've had that title since before 2006.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. But I didn't say it on the air.
Not that much more before
I'm Jeff
2006,
Lapidus,
though.
Dad.
Do you have to have any certain designations with the regulators?
I'll fight that one tooth and nail if they want to fight with me.
Can prove on birth certificate. Your name is on it. I saw myself.
That's right. I really can't. I mean, I was the male, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. I'm not carrying DNA tests around, so it's one of those deals, right? Fair. But that's a very good question. No, Aaron.
Yeah, I got to sign the first tax return this year. That was
I know that Aaron is the new president owner, and I'm just the help.
Well, You'll never be just the help,
right? Like
the help losing his office, getting sent to the basement, etc.
You will never lose your office.
Right. What would we do with all those figures?
Well, that's true. I am the landlord. What the hell?
Right.
Are you allowed to?
You can say the word hell.
Getting the language going here, trying to get people in trouble again.
No.
No. Signing the tax return for the company for this year was a little. It gave me pause. Like the first time.
Like this is real. This actually happened.
Like, I mean, I've been doing the books for the last 8 years now, 7-8 years.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not the accountant. I've just been doing the QuickBooks logging and making sure that, we can pay the staff and everything. But actually being responsible to tell the IRS that this is what happened, it gave me, like you said, pause.
The letter will come in your name.
That's one of
but
the many
benefits. But do us a favor. Don't touch that dial. We've got another hour of Straight Talk on Retirement right after these good old messages from our sponsors here on the Big 550 KTRS.
This is the
Big 550
KTRS St. Louis, proudly serving you for 28 years and counting.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Talks taking place today aimed at reaching a possible truce in Gaza. ABC's Tom Sophie Burridge is in Tel Aviv with the latest.
Hamas releasing a statement saying it is studying the Israeli proposal in a, quote, positive spirit, but adding they are pushing for a definitive end to the war. This morning, Israel responding to that, and Israeli officials saying Israel will not agree to the end of the war as part of this proposed deal. So right now, that seems to be the potential sticking point between the two sides.
Campus protests this week focused on the Israel-Hamas war. In the latest ABC News Ipsos poll, respondents asked about the conflict and how it might affect their voting this election season. ABC News Deputy Political Director Avery Harper.
Less than half of Americans say that the war between Israel and Hamas is actually going to factor into their decision come election time. And only 12% of voters say that it's going to be one of the single most important issues.
Dramatic testimony Friday in former President Trump's hush money trial. His one-time close aide, Hope Hicks, breaking down on the stand.
Prosecutors have alleged the Trump campaign couldn't take another sex scandal, so Michael Cohen wired Stormy Daniels $130,000 in hush money. Prosecutors allege Trump falsified business records to make his reimbursement of Cohen look like an ordinary legal expense, so voters wouldn't find out. On cross-examination, Hicks said Trump didn't want anyone in his family to be hurt or embarrassed by anything that was happening on the campaign. He wanted them to be proud of him. Aaron Katursky, ABC News, New York.
The Department of Justice has filed formal charges against Texas Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife Imelda.
Prosecutors allege Cuellar and his wife Imelda, beginning as early as December 2014, began accepting roughly $600,000 in bribes from an energy company owned by Azerbaijan's government and a Mexican bank.
The two could face decades in prison. Cuellar says they're both innocent and that he's still running for re-election in November. You're listening to ABC News.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
An experimental F-16 fighter jet taking off from Edwards Air Force Base in California Friday in a flight unlike any other, since this F-16 was controlled by artificial intelligence rather than a human pilot. AI marks one of the biggest advances in military aviation since the introduction of advanced stealth technology in the 1990s, and the Air Force has aggressively leaned in. The military branch says it plans to deploy a fleet of more than 1,000 AI-enabled warplanes, with the first entering operation as early as 2028. Rivers are rising to record levels in Texas, the governor issuing a disaster declaration. And ABC meteorologist Samara Theodore, north of Houston, says the heavy rain is not over.
Texans bracing for more severe weather after dangerous storms slammed the state. Tornadoes tearing through towns, leaving wreckage in their wake. Heavy rain flooding towns, closing roads and shutting down schools. With rivers rising, authorities enforced mandatory evacuations while coming to the aid of trapped citizens. First responders arriving in boats and pulling people to safety amid the rushing water.
Underage chicken workers.
The California Poultry Processing Network has been ordered to pay almost $5 million after a Department of Labor investigation found owners illegally employed children as young as 14 at dangerous jobs.
Foods. Investigators found A1 Meat Solutions, JRC Culinary Group, Moon Poultry, and 5 other businesses employed children in work using sharp knives and denied workers overtime wages.
That's ABC's Chuck Sievertson. I'm Dave Packer, ABC News.
Without the ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The views and opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners. Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement, hour number 2. And for those of you that have been listening for not quite 18 years, since I haven't been here that long, but for at least the last 10, top of the second hour is always dedicated to smart choices about your health care.
Because you care, we talk Medicare.
That's right. And
we've got our first Medicare related text.
Let's kick this part of the show off with our text.
Why not? And our texter writes, did Humana raise their rates this year for supplemental Medicare?
Yes. All the insurance companies every year raise their rates. Usually the average is between 1 and 5% for the individuals that have already aged into Medicare, so meaning they're already taking that supplemental plan.
That's unfortunate.
As you like to say, it's on the escalator.
Right.
You're not coming off it.
Hey.
Unless you jump onto a Medicare Advantage plan.
That's about the only way.
Absolutely.
My dad always reminds me that, if you take the supplement, it's going to go up every year. You started at this price. And I'm like, yes, Dad.
As someone who knows your dad, I just don't feel like that's how he sounds.
No, that's exactly how he sounds. Like, Bob. Bob.
I have heard him say that before. Bob.
He's the only one that can get away with calling me Bob.
I know I've tried, and your sister-in-law, my sweet sister, we've tried to get Bobby thrown in, and you just refuse to. It's as if you're not in the room, just refuse to respond. Not your name.
If I was balding and...
But Bobby, it's like...
Bobby is like for kids, I'm not a kid. I mean, I like to remind myself I'm not a kid anymore, but...
I don't know. I like it.
Bobby?
I guess I just like the idea of having a name that has nicknames associated with it. Aaron is kind of...
Usually when the old man breaks out the Bob reference, he's reached the point of exasperation with whatever I'm throwing at him. Yeah, no, Bob, come on. That's ridiculous. Well, why would you do that? It's just... We love Dad. If you're listening, Dad, love you. Gonna call you right after the show, actually.
So let's talk. So last week, we spent quite a bit of time discussing the changes that Aetna was forced to make from CMS, which is the Center for Medicare Services, on their fitness benefit. We've had just a handful of unhappy individuals I can understand and sympathize. Last week, one of the main questions was, are bicycles covered under the Aetna fitness benefit?
And, me and Frank were kicking that one around because we were going through some of the guidelines that
no
they
need
put
to
out.
kick, because I emailed directly, like I promised on the show last week. Promises made, promises kept. I emailed the director of marketing and sales for Aetna.
Before you get to the big reveal, I'm going to say that they were.
That is correct. So I emailed and I said, a few people have asked, are bicycles covered? And he clarified for us in writing on a Saturday. So that's a pretty nice service to receive a response from an insurance company on a Saturday that yes, bicycles are covered, not motorcycles, not electric bikes, but bicycles that you pedal with your own feet, got to use your own propelled exertion. They are covered, so you can use the money towards a bicycle.
Prior to your email exchange with the insurers, me and Frank were kicking around this question, and my logic led me to that they would be covered.
Sure.
Because it specifically said will not cover bike repairs. So my logic was, well, you don't get the bike repaired, you just get the bike. If they didn't want you to have the bike, they would clearly say, because they're clearly saying they won't repair the bike, but they're not saying you can't buy one. And so that's the logic I kind of...
Not bad logic. I didn't ask the logic behind the decision. I just got in writing. So that means if anybody has purchased a bike, is planning to purchase a bicycle, and they get a denial from Aetna, you can send our office an email, Aaron@jblfinancial.com or Franklin@jblfinancial.com, or go to our website, click on the Contact Us button. I will forward you the email that I received from the rep with it in writing, so you can use that as part of your appeals process if necessary. I don't think you will. I would also just want one more comment on this benefit, which is, unfortunately, it is highly unlikely that Aetna is ever going to release a complete and full list of what will be covered, also a complete and full list of what they will not cover, only because this is a changing benefit, and unfortunately they were dinged a little bit by putting things on the list that they aren't going to be able to cover. So, like we mentioned on the show last week, and I'm going to continue to mention this, if you're planning to purchase something and maybe it wasn't in your budget already, so you're doing this specifically because you have this fitness benefit through the Aetna Medicare Advantage plans, and you want clarity before you purchase it, you can send us an email and we will do our best to get an answer for you before you make the purchase.
That's wonderful. Then you can...
There's only so much we can do.
Right. Before you go. That way, like you said, you didn't game plan something that wasn't normally in your budget. This isn't like you're being reimbursed for something you would have already gotten.
Right.
You would have already purchased already. Yeah, that's great.
So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on some additional extra benefits and small issues that have been going on in the Medicare Advantage world, not just with Aetna, but across a couple of the companies. And Rob, why don't we start with Anne, who called about another benefit that Aetna is offering this year.
Let's. And, Anne called to clarify some things with her copay card. And she said it worked fine when she paid her specialist copay at the doctor's office. But when she went to pick up her medications, the pharmacy told her she could not use the copay card. She asked, what is all covered under the copay card and what is not covered? When can I use it? When does it roll over? Or does it roll over?
And Dad, you had this very same question because you too are an enrollee on the Aetna Medicare Advantage Gold policy.
I am a grown-up, yes.
And the answer is it will work for everything that has a copay except for your prescriptions. So just like Anne said, it worked perfectly when she went to the specialist. You get $200 a quarter. It does not roll over per quarter, but you get a total of obviously $800 for the year. So that means when you receive, if you are enrolling in that the Aetna Gold Advantage policy, that is the HMO style plan for Aetna this year, or one of them, when you receive your card in the mail, you're also going to receive what looks like a credit card almost for your copays.
And you do have to call and
get it registered or activated.
Yes, honey, I was going to ask, does it? I went in for my routine exam.
There's no copay for that.
I know that there's no copay. But what about the testing?
Yep.
There's no copay for that either?
The routine tests have no copays, so your annual blood work has no copay associated with it.
When am I going to use this thing?
Well, I mean, I certainly don't want to say, why don't you get sick? But hey.
And that's separate from the go to the pharmacy and get the goodies, get my Advil stuff, right?
That is completely separate.
And that's separate from the golf fee reimbursement stuff, right?
That is also separate.
Thank you.
But so you've been mentioning, and I did purchase, which I wonder if Aetna would have covered, but I'm not on the plan, so probably not. I got you a little contraption for your elbow discomfort.
Yes.
Which you haven't been using because it's in your desk, which is fine.
He put it in a desk so he has easy access.
When I have
pain. Are you
pain.
trying to be the favorite child?
Well, no, I can't do that, but I can try.
Right.
Rob helped me. I used it.
I think it's an ongoing thing. You got to use it regular, but nonetheless,
I thought it was I thought it was an as needed thing.
That's how I use it.
That's how my ex personal trainer, financial advisor, suggested.
So you're pain free.
Yes.
Oh,
Worked
okay.
immediately.
Okay. Well, I'm glad because I was going to say I don't want to wish ill health upon you. So, if the elbow was still causing you issue, maybe you could go to a specialist. That would have a copay associated with it. You want to go to a chiropractor. You want to go to a, what are the bone doctors called? Orthopedist to take a look at that.
It was just a tendon thing. It's okay now.
Okay.
Quick question. Correct me if I'm wrong. The copay cards actually will count if you use them to their fullest maximum ability. That will lower your max out of pocket, or that goes towards your max out of pocket. Is that correct?
Basically, you're saying the same thing in two different ways, and the answer to both of those is yes. So every dollar that you spend aside from prescriptions on Medicare Advantage plans goes towards your maximum out of pocket.
So they're giving you that $200 card. You're using it in the correct way on
It
things.
is counting against your maximum out of pocket. So it's practically a double dip
Yeah,
because you don't take money out of your pocket when you're going to the specialist, when you're going to have testing done that is outside of your routine and annual exam testing. So, for example, if you decided that the contraption I bought you wasn't cutting it and you wanted to see the orthopedist, most likely he'd say, well, we need to get some imaging done. Those images would have dollar amounts associated with them. You could use the copay card for that. If it was an MRI and it cost $100, you could use the copay card, and then $100 would come off of the $2,400 out-of-pocket maximum, either if you're thinking about it as you're pouring money out of a bucket, or if you're thinking about an empty bucket and you are pouring money into it to fill it up to the $2,400. That's going to go in. That's going to go into your total. So Aetna paid for it, and it goes against your max, which means you never have to pay for it, so to speak. And then if you went to the specialist, there's a copay associated with the specialist. You could add that in. Now, the $200, because it's a card that you have to activate, the nice thing is you don't have to do anything. The $200 is activated when you begin your plan. Every quarter, you lose the original $200 or whatever is left of the balance. So let's say you spent only $100 of the $200. You lose that $100, but then you get another $200 regenerated each quarter for you. So it doesn't roll over. In that example, you don't have $300 the next quarter. So it's a use it or lose it benefit. But we're in the hopes that most people, this is a great bell that doesn't ring very often because we don't want you going to the doctor all the time.
So let me ask one other question then. Is your quarter, is it a calendar year quarter, or is it a quarter based upon your time of enrollment?
It's a calendar year quarter. So that means if you enroll the last month of a quarter, you get the full $200 in the first month.
Oh, beauty.
Right. So it's
I
not
wish I would have used it.
It's not prorated in any way, but it's also not on your own. You're not on your own on your own calendar system, which is also true of maximum out-of-pocket benefits. So across all the Medicare Advantage plans, if you enroll January 1st or you enroll July 1st, your maximum out-of-pocket is the same. It's obviously over a different amount of time, though. So you have a whole year to spend the $2,400, for example, on Aetna, versus if you only have 6 or 7 months if you enroll mid-year. But then you end up on the same schedule as everyone that's already on Medicare, meaning you go to a calendar year. Our texter writes, heard that Aetna will only cover a mountain bike. So these
they
are
specified which bikes they'll cover?
Not type of. I have in writing. It's not. It is a type of bike. It has to be a self-propelled bike, meaning
It can't be electric.
It could be a road bicycle.
Right.
It could be a mountain bicycle. The bicycle being the key word here. It can't be a electric bike
operated one.
It can't be anything that you plug in, so it can't be like a recumbent bike that you put in your basement, and it also cannot be a motorcycle. So like one might refer to that as a bike. No.
Anything that's not using only your legs is not going to be covered.
Right, because it's supposed to be fitness benefits. So like if you want the what do they call those? The cruisers, where they've got the big handlebars and the basket in the front, you want to ride around locally. Why are you making that face?
No, bike riding, especially in our neighborhood, is
it's a joy.
It really is, and I mean, we don't have bikes, but if we were Medicare eligible and they were willing to furnish us with a nice bike to ride around, that would be great. And the idea that we could buy one every year, in theory,
every year the benefits available. I
Right.
don't know after this if that is going to be like chuck the whole thing, but probably not. I'm just kidding. So just as a quick review, if you're on the Aetna Gold policy, you have the copay card. You get $200 a quarter. There's a separate card that comes with your medical and prescription card. You can use it for everything but your prescriptions and the extra benefits. So these are solely medical benefits that you can use the $200 for. So you can't use the $200 in addition to the over-the-counter benefit when you're when you're getting your over-the-counter items. You can't use it
For
to
long-term health care. You can't use it for dental. There is a separate benefit for that, and it's a very robust one at $3,250.
Right, and you also can't use it for what was I going to mention? Some of the extra benefits: the hearing benefit, the vision benefit.
Because that's covered in its own benefit line.
Benefit, exactly. Right. And then the final thing that you cannot use it for is anything that the coverage you have does not cover. So for example, if you went to an acupuncturist or something along those lines and it's not covered under your policy, you can't use the copay card for that. So, and I've got a nice list here of some of those things. The specialist, $20. So if you want to see a specialist, they'll cover that, the $20.
Diagnostic tests up to $30. Radiology services up to $75. Emergency care up to $125. Urgent care.
Right, and these are up to, Rob's saying up to, but that's what the expenses are on the policy that you can use it for. So it's a nice extra benefit. Now, another issue, but with United Healthcare. So Sam
emailed about a recent breach of United Healthcare and asked if I could provide a update during today's show. In late April, United Healthcare released a press release stating, quote, "Given the ongoing nature and complexity of the data review, it is likely to take several months of continued analysis before information will be available to identify and notify impacted customers and individuals."
So basically, unfortunately, Aetna had a bit of a security breach. There were some screenshots and files that were extricated from their system that may have contained some of your personal identifiable information in them. And so, unfortunately, they are having to go through their entire system to determine who exactly was impacted there. However, you can call. United Healthcare has started a dedicated call center to establish free credit monitoring and identity theft protections for 2 years for anyone that's impacted. So you can call that number 866-262-5342 if you feel that you may have been a person, or you just want to check and see if you are a person, or you want to get on the list to get your free credit monitoring because you are a United Healthcare enrollee.
Yeah, that was going to be my next one. Like, in a lot of cases, you may not know you've been impacted until something out of the ordinary happens.
So I would just say, Dad was earlier in the first hour was using the analogy of going to war. I would be on high alert.
Alert.
Exactly. High alert if you're a United Healthcare enrollee that, you're checking through your credit card statements to see if there's any unusual activity. You are checking to make sure that you're not getting any mail that wasn't from purchases that you made, any emails that aren't from purchases that you made, so that way you can quickly identify if, unfortunately, maybe you're somebody that was impacted. If you have been impacted or if you want to get some more clarity, you can call Frank if you're working with us, Franklin at jblfinancial.com, or call our office 314-863-0008. Or if you already know that you've been impacted and you would like that free credit monitoring, just call United Healthcare 866-262-5342, and they will be there to help you out with that. We didn't spend a lot of time today discussing specific Medicare benefits or how to enroll, what plan to choose, because I think that it's always important to spend a little bit of time discussing really the additional services that we provide for clients that work with us, because we don't feel that we're just setting up your Medicare policy and then you're off on your own. We really are here to help with anything that does arise. And unfortunately, sometimes these issues do come up. Benefits change, prescription drug plans change slightly. Maybe you had a prescription that they've changed the formulary on, or, there's
You
some
need
data
clarity.
breaches,
Right.
or you need some clarity.
They offer new benefits, and you're kind of unsure as to what the fine print really, what the spirit of the fine print really is, and how that's applied. So it's great to have a place you can call to get these issues worked out.
We're here to be your backup.
And if I was a United Healthcare enrollee, I think
You would have been on the phone weeks ago.
I'll take the LifeLock for 2 years. No, well, do you know you're affected? Well, I won't know unless I have the protection, so I'll need it.
Is Medicare Advantage plan bought from brokers or directly from an insurance company? You can do both. And in fact, if you go directly to the insurance company, a broker that works for the insurance company directly is going to help enroll you. I will just mention, though, independent individuals like Frank, like myself, like Rob, are able to show you a variety of options, not just the Medicare Advantage plans, but also the supplement plans, and also plans that aren't just directly from one insurer. We can show you many options across Missouri and Illinois, depending upon where you happen to live. So you can compare benefits, find the one that works best for you. And then also you have what I like to call an HR department in retirement. Instead of having to call the insurance company yourselves, we'll be available to help you navigate that.
And our next texter writes, can you use the Aetna copay card for a medical bill that wasn't completely covered by the insurance?
So that is going to depend. If it wasn't completely covered by insurance because you owe a dollar amount based on your benefit. So for example, any one of these things, if you had inpatient hospital for $235 a day, and you owe that out of pocket, yes, you can use the copay card for that. If you have a bill that is not covered under the Aetna plan because it's not a benefit that's covered by Aetna, then no, you cannot use it. So in this particular instance, if you want to send us a copy of the bill, we can let you know. In most cases, if you're receiving a bill from Aetna and it says that you owe not because a claim was denied, but just because this is how much you owe, then yes, you will be able to use that, the copay card for that, as long as it's not a prescription.
Whether you're seeking clarity, you got a bill in the mail that you don't quite understand, working with someone like Frank is going to be greatly beneficial. There's never a cost to you. And, once every year when open enrollment comes around, just having all those plans laid out on the big board so you can see exactly, what's what and who's who, and put in a simplified way would be of great benefit. And, a lot of times you get stuck in a plan and you really like it and not much has changed, but, you may want to come in anyway just to make sure that things are as you believe them to be.
What was that in the newsletter? Which bias was that? Which was that anchoring?
Right. You're anchored to a plan because you've had it for a number of years and it's always worked great. And, it may continue to work great in the future. And, maybe that's the case.
Nothing wrong with that.
But there's nothing also wrong with coming in, grabbing a nice hot cup of delicious coffee.
That's right.
And going through all the options. That way, if something did change or there is something a little bit better that suits your needs better, we can move you into that.
And there's no cost to you to do this.
Never. So there's only, as I like to say, there's only a cost if you don't take advantage.
Because you got a professional to help you out, and we are paid directly by the insurance companies, so your cost doesn't change regardless of if you work with us or, like the texter mentioned, if you go directly to the insurance company.
And an added benefit, the service doesn't stop.
The service doesn't stop. It is ongoing.
It really is. It's not just that we signed you up and, as Aaron said, now you're on your own. You've got questions throughout the year. You've got a bill you didn't quite understand, or you just want some clarity. It's nice to be able to get on the phone with someone that isn't the insurance company, that you didn't have to wait 5 hours to speak to a human being. You're talking to Frank immediately.
That's right. Immediately. And with that, I think that we should immediately take our first break of the second hour. When we get back, we already have an excellent text question on deck, not related to Medicare, but we are here to answer any additional Medicare or health insurance related questions that you might have. So please don't hesitate to send them in. Either give us a call, 314-931-5877, or send us a text, 84126 on the text line. We will be right back.
This is David Sherwood of Sherwood's Forest, the Inside Out Show's tree guy. You may have heard the name Fertilome. They've been around for nearly 50 years and they offer a wide variety of fertilizers, weed prevention, weed killers, plant foods, and much more. You won't find Fertilome in the big box stores. You'll find it at your local nursery and garden centers. Fertilome won't force you into a multi-step fertilizer program. Their classic lawn food has slow-release nitrogen and trace micronutrients that will help your lawn grow greener and healthier throughout the season. I've met with the folks at Fertilome and we stock it at Sherwood's Forest. I'm convinced they can help your lawn, garden, and plants grow into something to be proud of. To find a Fertilome dealer near you, just go to fertilome.com and click on the Find a Dealer link and enter your zip code to find a garden center that stocks the Fertilome product that's right for your needs, including their natural expanded product offerings. That's fertilome.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back to the show. It's 10:31 here on the Big 550 KTRS. We do have some text questions from our previous hot segment. All right,
People are ready to go.
Let's rock and roll.
My wife and I are both retired, but I have non-qualified stock options to exercise over the next 3 years. On the W-2 I get, there is nothing noted in box 11, only in box 12. I believe I can contribute $8,000 to a Roth for myself and my wife if I am reading the rules correctly. It says its rules say that if you have to reduce your W-2 by the amount of what box 11, but I have nothing there, only box 12. That is because, unfortunately, the only way that you are able to contribute to Roth or traditional IRA is through wages or earned income, not, unfortunately, through exercising of stock options. You're getting the W-2 because they're coming from your employer and they are taxable to you, but unfortunately, you can't offset that.
Good answer.
Oh, well, thank you.
And our next texter writes, hello, is there a clear choice for which plan to choose if you have a high out-of-pocket condition that potentially could be an issue for the years not in retirement?
That wasn't quite what he said. It would... If you have a high out-of-pocket condition that could potentially only be an issue for a few years in retirement. So my recommendation would be, with that little bit of information, we would have you come in and sit down with Frank. We would have you fill out a medical questionnaire. It asks, who are your physicians? What are your prescriptions? And is there anything else you'd like us to know? You would give us a little bit more of other things you'd like us to know. Why is it a high out-of-pocket condition? Are you someone that has needing regular maintenance, visits to the doctor? Are you needing treatments? Are you needing scans? What are those things? And really, just like we went through a variety of different dollar amounts of what things cost on the Aetna plan, using an example, Frank can go through and say, if you need 2 MRIs a year, it's going to be about $300. If you need X, Y, and Z, it's going to cost this much. Let's compare what a supplement cost would be, again, to what a Medicare Advantage plan cost could potentially be. As my dad has said in the past, it's an algebra problem. With some of the extra benefits available over the last few years, not just with Aetna, we really are seeing the out-of-pocket expenses reduced for enrollees on Medicare. But the great thing is, what you choose when you initially elect Medicare is not what you are necessarily stuck with forever. You do get to make changes every single year. So working with someone like Frank will give you the opportunity to have your health plan track your health. So that means that if we start out with, because you're still, potentially we've got individuals that are undergoing treatment when they retire. Maybe that's why they retired. Maybe they do start out in the supplement because it gives them a little bit of security of a fixed expense every single month. They know what they're going to be paying to the insurance company. And then when treatment is done, or when they feel secure in their retirement cash flow, we say maybe it's time to take a look at the Medicare Advantage option, and we'll do that comparison again for you.
And our next texter writes, and this is a great one, does your dad's investing experience and wisdom find its way into the investment decisions that you are making on a daily basis, given his quote-unquote retirement and new role?
Oh my gosh, I feel like, are you offended? Retirement, that word, Dad?
No, not in the least, because I think what I have done is, with your assistance, found what my real level of retirement is, which is, or engagement in work. This is what I love to do. And so I'm still engaged, but in a little different way, in that I'm not, everybody that comes to visit us that's new is visiting with you and Rob.
Well, I would just say, to answer the texter's question directly, is I've had the privilege and benefit of being mentored by you every single day for the past 14 years now. So there are some things that have been, as you would say, I'm in the Kool-Aid machine. They've become part of my thinking. So it would be hard to discern what is my own original thought and what some things you've taught me over time, which have been incredibly valuable. The other nice thing is, even though we're slowly moving you into the basement, you're just a few steps away to have not only conversations about what's going on in the market every day, but when unique situations come up, you have how many years now? 45 years of experience to draw on that we still draw on a regular basis as I am building my experience, because every new client, every new situation, every new potential client gives me the opportunity to learn a little bit more, see something different, find some answers, and maybe it's I'm looking for some answers and bouncing a few ideas off of you. And what have you seen in the past? What direction have you taken this in the past?
The only thing I would add to that is the tools that we have available to us are changing, and they have been changing over the last several years. And what's nice is having a group of three. The three of us.
It gets better every year, doesn't it?
Well, it does get better. And I think I would say, to answer our texter very specifically, is I'm more animal spirits driven and Erin is a little bit more chart driven. So I think what's kind of neat is that her she's actually taught me some things and given me some different perspectives. But what's nice is it's nice to be in a situation where your advice is still sought after every once in a while. And it really isn't a once in a while thing. I'm just, really all I did was cut my hours back a little bit.
Is it nice?
No. No. It's when you're used to, as your mother would say, when you're used to being on full throttle, it's not easy to cut back. So, but it's also nice to watch the parade. Especially if it's a good show.
Well, we're like Macy's.
I hear you, which is great, but we do appreciate that.
We've got one more text before we get to our topic.
And our texter writes, I am thinking of moving some money into a Roth to remove some taxes later in life. Thoughts? Well, I mean,
this is a trigger question. I love it.
This is a Roth conversion question.
So, you know what? This question is a perfect example of where, Dad, you and I have a slightly different outlook on things. You were generally 100%, almost in every case, opposed to the Roth conversion concept, whereas I'm a little bit more lenient in my thinking, which is there are a few things that you're going to want to consider here. What is your current tax bracket? Are you really lowering your taxes later on down the line? If you're already in the 22% tax bracket, most likely you're not going to be converting enough to have any true impact later down the line. If you're going to bump yourself into a new tax bracket, maybe you're actually paying more in taxes than you could potentially pay down the line. So there are some things you want to consider there. Are you still working? You absolutely don't want to do Roth conversions then. And how much is your goal in converting? Because if you take the dollar amount of your traditional IRA now, whatever you converted, put even a conservative growth rate on what's left in the traditional IRA, when you get to 73 years old, how much of an impact did you really have on your required minimum distribution? And as Rob likes to point out, when you pay the taxes on that conversion, if you don't have the money in your checking account and your savings account, so you take $10,000, you owe 10% in taxes, only less taxes goes in, so only $9,000 goes into your Roth. Well, you're going to lose the growth on those taxes forever. That's gone.
And, depending on how much you're converting, that could be a large sum of money.
Right.
And what tax bracket you're in. And, as your dad likes to remind us, we're just not finding that taxes are that big of a deal for our clients in retirement. So it just isn't the issue that a lot of people think that they will be. So to incur that kind of cost
up front
is just, I think your dad has completely converted me. It's like every time I hear it, I just think pain.
It's
put your hand in the box.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a Dune reference for all.
It's just it's really a reality check.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing as we've talked about, if you do the formula, if you figure out exactly how much you're spending, if your income is less than $8,000 a month in today's dollars, non-inflation adjusted, you're in the 10% tax bracket. It makes no sense to me to pay taxes when you're especially because people always ask us because they're working. It isn't retirees. It's mostly I'm working.
Right.
They want to convert assets when they're in their 22 to 24 to 20, whatever, 30% tax bracket.
Oh my God.
So that they can later take money out, which they never do, by the way, when they're in a 10. No.
And that's why you really
that's really what the true math is it's sort of you see people on TV, and I'll say this more than anything else. You see people that are financial people on TV and they're giving you advice. Do this, don't do that.
They don't have clients.
They're not really in the real world, which is looking somebody in the eye and they say, you know what, Johnny needs this money and whatever, I'm never going to see it back and it doesn't matter because he's Johnny. Well, rational person say, we're not giving Johnny money. He's never going to give back to you, but it's your kid. You love him. So Roth was really another government misstep. It should have been for the rich folks. Put away money after tax, let it grow tax-free, take it out tax-free. That's great. But people in low tax brackets don't need Roth. I mean, that's why you don't do Roth. I mean, the only person, it's funny, I am recommending Roth IRAs now. You know that, babe.
To whom?
To our clients whose grandkids
are starting to work a little bit.
That's right. They're getting to work. So you want to give them a gift? Let's open a Roth. 100% up to 100% of their income, up to $7,000, can go into a Roth. Tax-free, better than 529.
Right. It's more liquid than the 529.
Exactly. And guess what? It'll be there for their whole life.
Right, so they were going to have the value of 30.
And it also doesn't count against them for college educational purposes.
Right.
One of the Jeff-isms, as it were, that really stuck in my mind was, it's a rhetorical question, but it just fits so well. Why pay taxes on money you're not consuming? So you're not consuming it. So why are you doing that? And when it was like a diamond through the forehead, I was like, well, yeah, why would you do that?
So again, this is a question that really you need to look at your numbers. It is a great question, but in most cases, we're finding that it's not going to be beneficial to you. And Dad, you made a really great point here before we take our next break. So we have a nice chunk of time for our last segment of the show is we're finding that most people are not using their Roth accounts in retirement. One, they're not using it for monthly income in almost every situation. And two, hesitant to use it at big ticket expenses. In fact, I would say in most cases, we are trying to do some tax planning in their traditional IRAs, meaning breaking up the liquidation of debt over multiple years or determining how to use financing in order to bring down overall expenses. People become hesitant to use their Roths in retirement. And that's one of the pieces that talking heads on TV don't have the opportunity to experience, which is what are people's actual reactions and actual habits and motivations in retirement. We actually get to experience that with our clients.
Sure. You're right, honey, because when it comes to these big ticket purchases, And we're talking about even if it's not necessarily a car, but it could be
Cars are like the price of small houses now.
We were just talking about that.
Renovations, whatever it would be. It's called, Jeff and Aaron, where do I get the money? Well, if you're like most folks, you have a whole lot of pre-tax assets, IRAs, and not a whole lot of the other stuff. So it's, what do I do do you want to pay taxes this year? No. Well, hello, welcome to your Roth. I mean, that's
But no, I don't want to use the Roth.
Well, then you get to pay it's great. You get to pay the taxes, or you get an orange jumpsuit. It doesn't really matter. We don't help you with
Never.
that. But we do see Roth used for those type of things or for the big emergency things like Rob was talking about, the air conditioner breaks or whatever it might be. Roth. It's not for income. It's just another pig. It really becomes literally another piggy bank.
Emergency vault.
Right.
A tax-free one.
If you meet all the qualifications, of course, over 59 and a half, it's been in existence for 5 years. We do want to point that out because it's not all tax-free all the time. But with that being said, let's take our last break of the hour. And when we get back, we have a segment that I know, Dad, you've been really dying to get to. So we're going to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
You know, every Wednesday, Lauren Risley and Josh and I,
of course,
right, talk about something in real estate, something in home improvement, sometimes pizza, sometimes that. But I'm always wondering, we see those signs that say, "I'll buy your house for cash." Should we be leery of that?
I mean, unless there's someone out there just collecting houses, like piling them up somewhere, they're typically turning them for a profit. So in some situations, it may be a good fit for people, but in most situations, they're leaving some money on the table. So if that's an option that you're looking at least reach out first so we can give you some guidance.
And they don't necessarily have to sign on the dotted line with you. You can just offer them great information.
Call, ask any question that you have. Knowledge is power. If you don't know, just call and ask.
Call Lauren at 314-775-0684 or email her hello@laurenrisleyrealty.com.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Oh, welcome back to the show. We're on our last segment of this hour. We've got about 13 minutes, but we want to answer your phone calls and text 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. So the other evening, during my normal, 5 hours of television watching, that's kind of how I wind down during the day. I'm watching one of my favorite, I want to say it was the 70s movies with Clint Eastwood, the original one, Dirty Harry. And in that movie, I know that he said, man's got to know his limitations. So, it really made me think, and again, I'm even not concentrating on the word limitations. I'm thinking about expectations. When we engage professionals, and really it's of any kind, I think it's really important to I like to set my expectations on what I consider is going to be a successful relationship with them and also relating to them what I think is successful. I think most people do that, and we do it all the time. Let me give you an example. And people know me, they're going to laugh about this because I am the least handy person on the planet.
We all have our talents.
Yes, and
that is not one of them.
No. So I have a leaky faucet. Her mother's out of town. She can't help us. So I contact
it's not that mom's that handy either, but good anyway.
She thinks she is. She's the only Jewish person that has tools, so it's okay. So I contact a plumber or a handyman to fix the problem, and naturally, what I do is I explain the problem, I tell them what my anticipated outcome is, i.e., you're going to fix this.
The faucet will no longer leak.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And, I expect that they're going to have the necessary skill set to fix my problem and engage me in a professional manner. They typically would expect to be paid because they're not working for free.
Right.
And treated in a cordial and dignified way. And I think that's what really the kind of relationship we like to think that we're going to have with
really anyone we engage with.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I'm just wondering, and I just know this from the conversations that we have with folks that are prospective clients.
And even current clients.
Right. Have you taken the time to consider what your expectations are in working with a financial professional? And I think that it's not so easy because all of us folks aren't plumbers.
We have different skill sets.
We really do. So I think you need to ask yourself a real set of questions. I certainly, what I would do, and I've put them down. So why don't you help me with these?
The first question being, are you seeking investment advice or investment management?
So this is a great one where, Dad, you've always said this, which is if you're a person that is a do-it-yourselfer, and there's nothing wrong with that, you enjoy making your investment selections, you enjoy
taking the risk,
taking the responsibility on, then to use another, I'll say dadism because I can't say Jeffism, we don't take toys from boys or girls.
Yes.
So if that's something that you enjoy doing, we charge a fee, 1% annually, for the money that we manage, meaning we are investment advisor representative. We manage money. We agree to take on the risk in terms of your expectations of portfolio results, as well as what our expectations of portfolio results are, in addition to how do those investments fit into your game plan that we've constructed together. If you don't give us the opportunity to cook with the ingredients, then how can we be expected to make the sandwich, right?
Exactly. If we got to make the meal, we ought to at least be able to shop for the ingredients.
Exactly.
Well, and I think that, as a caveat, well, not a caveat, but an add-on to that, we don't open accounts because we're planners. And that's a little different also, is that you have to ask yourself, or I would be asking myself if I was going to be engaging somebody, is this something that is am I looking for a single solution or a comprehensive financial plan? It's a big deal because really when I think of brokers versus planners, brokers are really, it's a hit and run thing. I need an investment. Do you have an idea for me, et cetera? I'll give you money to do towards it.
And it's siloed into this is your investment. Right. What is the return? What is the goal for that single investment?
Right. Our work is really synergizing everything that they have as a delivery to the game plan.
Right. It's not the solution. It's really part of the plan. The solution is the plan itself.
Yeah. So what happens is that your investment management, its goals and objectives is to deliver the fuel that's necessary to keep your life going. Exactly. It's actually, and that's why we concentrate on the algebra. That's always first with us, which is how much do you need?
How much do you have to?
How much do we have, right? What part of that is milk money that we're really dedicating to that income flow? And then what part is going to the emergency fund? What part is then going to, if there is extra, going towards growth? How much flexibility do you have? The investment management then comes on the second side. And that's really different than somebody that's really looking for investment advice as compared to planning.
And that kind of coincides with the next question you'd want to ask yourself, which is, are you wanting a single engagement or to establish an ongoing relationship? We want to see you if we decide that we'd like to work together, which means it's a joint decision. You would like to work with us. We'd also like to work with you for the long term. We see the majority of our clients between 2 and 4 times a year. We're available to chat with them when anything comes up, not just questions, but if they have something that's come up in their lives and they'd like some advice, we're here to engage with them. If you're looking for a once a year, once an investment conversation, then the likelihood is you're also going to pay to the level of service that you're being provided. So do you really want to pay a fee to an individual when you're not using the relationship to its maximum?
And that leads into, the next question, are you ready to delegate responsibilities for certain aspects of your financial plan?
It's important. It's so interesting, Aaron, because as I was listening to you and Rob talk, I was just thinking to myself, and I've said this to clients before, we get paid by the investment side. And obviously we believe, our clients believe, that they're delivering the results that they want, because what happens is people aren't leaving us in droves. We have a 99% retention rate. But it's everything else is really what they pay us for. It's the tax planning. It's the estate planning. It's answering those questions that maybe they can't talk to with their children, with their friends, with their other relatives. It's the letting us inside part into their lives, which really is truly, I think, the interesting and the meat part of our job. And I love that. And it really isn't a job. And it's funny because I just think that even last week, we got some news that, one of our clients unfortunately has become chronically ill. Mm-hmm. And it was a sad moment.
Because we've known this individual I've known this individual since I started with you, which means you've known him even longer. That's a very long-term relationship that we've had.
Yeah, but
he's our friend.
Well, not only that, but what also is that they've let us in,
right?
And they've had they've had good things and bad things happen, et cetera, over time, and they've asked us for a lot of advice. What do you think about this, et cetera? Sometimes playing the devil's advocate, sometimes playing the cheerleader,
but always being there to be of assistance in whatever way they'll allow us.
Right, and appreciate. I mean, the privilege of being let in is so important. I mean, really, it's more than anything else. And I guess the other thing I would have to say is, and I think every client has to look at this, and we don't engage everybody in the same way.
Sure.
Because frankly, it's really up to them. It's versus us, because we're open.
Right. Our door is always open. How much you choose to engage us is really up to you.
Yeah, and you really need to think about what are the end results that you want to consider where you're actually in a successful relationship. Is it? And for our clients, I have to tell you that I don't think it's a rate of return is the answer. I don't think that really
it's
really
a
isn't
component,
that.
of course, but it's not.
And typically, it's not the overriding, the leading component.
Sure.
Because in many cases, and we've had this happen in, I want to say isolated situations, but we've had folks that have come to us that frankly have been in their last stages of life.
Or they are hoping to have us as be a guide for the people they're leaving behind.
Right. And so they want their plans, they want their assets to be distributed in a certain way. They're hopeful that management will continue for that after their passing, so that those goals that they're not going to be able to see that they'd had for them can be achieved. It's a big deal. It really is a big deal. It's more than, and it's not a rate of return situation. So that's
well, that's a responsibility that I remember the first individual that we worked with that came to us specifically and said, I'm here because I've been managing my assets. I'm not going to be able to do that in the long term, and I want you to be here for my wife and my family that I'm leaving behind. And I just kind of looked at you like, wow, Dad, that's because I wasn't an advisor at that point. That's a big responsibility and such an honor to have someone say that to you, that, you want them to be, it's almost more than Skipper or Gilligan.
Well, and then it certainly creates a different level of responsibility for you.
Of course.
Which is say, I'm going to make sure that this happens in this way. And
like I said before,
great. And
promises
it really is
made, promises kept.
Well, it's great. And so I think then and this is really the tough question that everybody has to ask themselves. And I know our clients ask themselves the same question.
Sure.
Which is my current advisor capable of delivering the results that I want? Or is it time to look for somebody that can? It's tough. Aaron, I know you've talked about, and I don't disagree with this, most advisors are accumulation advisors.
Mm-hmm.
let's help you make money. They're depending upon either their own research or research done by analysts, etc. They're fed stories. They feed you stories.
Mm-hmm.
We're planners. Distribution, estate planning, long-term care, healthcare. Those are all the things that we're really concerned about because it's a whole specialization in terms of working with that retirement phase. And if you'd like to visit with us, it's easy to do. 314-863-0008. Thank you for 18 years. We'll be back next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS.